President-elect making more controversial picks to staff his administration, announcing former pro wrestling executive Linda McMahon as education secretary. New at 6, Erica Meltzer, national editor for Chalkbeat, joining us live to discuss McMahon's nomination and what it means for the Department of Education as a whole. Erica, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. First of all, who is Linda McMahon?
Linda McMahon started WWE, the professional wrestling empire, with her husband, Vince McMahon. She served in the first Trump administration at the head of the Small Business Administration, and she's been a major donor and part of a pro-Trump think tank in more recent years, and she's the co-chair of his transition team. She does not have an extensive education policy background.
She has a very small bit, though. I guess she served on the board at Sacred Heart University a couple of years.
Yes, and she served. She served on the board of Sacred Heart University, and she served briefly on the State Board of Education in Connecticut. This would have been 2009, 2010.
And initially, she was targeted for Commerce Secretary. What happened?
Well, she was passed over for another member of the transition team, Howard Lutnick, and reportedly she was in consideration for either UK ambassador or education secretary. And sort of in the reaction, some people have expressed concern that what should be an important cabinet pick was treated as a consolation prize. Other people have said, hey, she has business experience, she has administrative experience, don't count her out. Let's hear what she has to say.
But the president-elect vowed during his presidency to eliminate the Department of Education altogether. Could this be a sign that he's leaning that way?
I think that's certainly a reasonable interpretation. It is worth remembering that the Department of Education, as a federal department, it would take an act of Congress to eliminate it. That's not something that he could decide with his education secretary. But certainly there were choices that I think would have been perceived as more serious policy picks that would have suggested a more robust federal role in education. For example, there's a number of Republican state superintendents of education who are strong cultural conservatives, but also have an education policy background.
In that role, though, could she start to do things that could dismantle that department and send it all back to the states, which is what the president-elect wants?
Yeah, he said send it all back to the states. And it's a little confusing to understand what that means because most education policy is already made at the state level. There are certain areas where conservatives have really objected to the role that the Department of Education has played, for example, in civil rights enforcement, in Title IX regulations. I think almost certainly we will see that change under this administration. Perhaps there will be less regulation. At the same time, he's also promised to punish schools that pursue what he deems woke ideologies, and so there's some conflicting messages here from the campaign.
Erica, what has your research shown that if it is dismantled or become lessened as far as a department for the United States, what could that mean for education as a whole for the United States of America?
I think that really depends on what they do with funding. Federal funding is about 8 to 10% of education funding in this country. That might seem small, but for high poverty districts, for districts with larger numbers of special education students, this funding is really important. And so one of the open questions is, are they going to maintain funding levels or increase them, but send it out with fewer strings attached? Or are we actually going to see more austere budgets and funding cuts or money diverted from those high poverty schools or from other student populations that have historically been supported by the federal government? It could mean less support for school improvement efforts. The federal government does a lot of research and disseminates information about best practices. And I think we can probably count on civil rights enforcement looking pretty different. Republicans think that there's been a lot of federal overreach, that their approach would be better and more targeted. And they've also said that they would probably put more attention on anti-Semitism than Democrats have done.
Erica Meltzer, thank you so much from Chalkbeat. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.